Perfect, guys, and welcome back to my channel, Just Ari. I know I mentioned this in a previous video, but I have been a high school English teacher for about 7 years now. Today's video is my personal opinion on the 10 biggest challenges as a teacher. 10. No time to deal with bodily functions of your own. We're always expected to be in our room. Students are allowed bathroom breaks. Teachers don't get bathroom breaks. And you can imagine how hard and difficult that is being a woman. So that's very challenging. It's really tough, especially if you don't have an aide in the room. So let's say for just about all of my years teaching, I never had a co-teacher or an aide. So it was only me and my students. And if I needed to use the restroom, I would just have to hold it for my prep period. Hopefully it would be soon. Or, later on in my career, there were certain times that because of what was going on with my body, I just had to use the restroom. So, number 9, lack of support. Lack of support from parents, from administration, and from society. With all my years teaching, I hardly saw parents, and the parents that I saw were usually the ones their students were doing excellent in school. The ones that I needed to see, the ones that needed to show up, didn't. There's not a lot of parent participation. It seems like many of the parents have fallen short. I know it's harsh to say, but it seems like a lot of them just don't care about their child's education. And that's just really sad. You never see the parents, you never hear from them, you try to contact them, you can never reach them, and they only show up to school if their child is getting suspended or gotten in a fight, or if the child is outright failing the class, then they might show up, and that visitation is not going to be a pleasant one. Administration, in my opinion, they don't support teachers enough. They shove a lot of things down our throats, but they never really come back around to see how we're doing with this new initiative, or how can they be of assistance to help us knowing the current situation with our students. So it's just like, here's something else for you to add on your plate, and never, how can I help you implement this? What help do you need in the classroom? Some basic things. Number 8, class sizes. Majority of the classes that I taught were extremely huge. I'm talking, well, for me, coming from a parochial school that my graduating class was only 19 students, to have 30 students in a classroom from varying backgrounds, and when I mean backgrounds, I'm talking about language barriers, and I'm talking about learning disabilities, and I'm talking about just various learning styles. Cramming that number of students into a classroom and expecting the teacher to work a miracle, I mean, we're not magicians. Number 7, student attitudes and behaviors. Student attitudes and behaviors is a major setback in the classroom, especially when you have administration shoving these initiatives and requirements down your throat. They can prevent you from meeting the goals set by those above you. Students not wanting to listen, students not wanting to, something as simple as sitting down in your seat, having out your utensils that you need for class. Just inappropriate behaviors for the classroom. It really makes you wonder, especially for me, I've been teaching high school. I had to, sometimes I was saying, it's best that I'm teaching, kindergarten. It's sad to say, but if you are 14, 15, 16 years old and you are acting like a 6-year-old, there's not much that we can get done in class. I am going to have to constantly address your behaviors, constantly trying to redirect, and if we're doing that, time's wasting. We're not getting to the material that we need, the material that I need you to learn in order to progress forward. Number 6, balancing the needs and learning styles of each individual student. Now, I know everyone expects the teacher, having gone through a rigorous teaching program or teacher program, educational program, whichever term you would prefer to use, expect the teacher to be able to do this seamlessly. Honestly, that's not a reality. It takes a lot of work and a lot of practice, a lot of trials, trying different things, seeing what works. And especially when you have a large class size, when you have 30 students and each of them learn differently, it's tough. It's tough to reach every student. And you want, as a teacher, you want to reach every student. You want to make sure that you meet every student at their level, and you want them to learn. You want that light bulb to go off. You don't want only a certain, out of your 30, only 5 of them getting it. Then you're not effective as a teacher, and you want to be effective. And it's just very difficult when you think of all the different components that happens daily. Number 5, applying a fixed curriculum to a set of students with different needs. At my first school, there wasn't really a curriculum, so I as a new teacher, had to make up my own. That was kind of a daunting task. But at the second school that I taught at, there was a fixed curriculum, and in all honesty, it's really tough seeing the level, assessing when I first came in, assessing the abilities of my students and seeing what the material was. I mean, they were here, and the material is like beyond the scope. And having to break that down to meet each student and still meet the requirements of that fixed curriculum is not easy. Every child is not the same. No one learns exactly the same. No one has the same interests. That needs to be taken into consideration when building curriculums or adopting curriculums or adopting initiatives. That needs to be thought of. Number 4, not enough time to plan. There's definitely not enough time to plan. I feel like there never is, and then the end result is taking your job home. It never ends. For me, it was a never-ending cycle. When I first began teaching, I took all my material home and I worked on it all night, trying to perfect my craft. I noticed some students didn't get this today. Maybe I need to change my approach. And it was an everyday thing. It was constantly on my mind. I had no time for anything else. It was only school. School, school, school. How am I going to grab their attention today? How am I going to deliver this information so that at least majority of them understand, and then we can move forward? How can I help my students who don't speak English? And I'm not ESL trained. How am I going to make them all feel included and make them all feel welcomed and make them feel like they're capable, even though the curriculum is way beyond that scope, honestly? Number 3, being realistic and keeping up with the goals set by administrators. Now, if you look at the goals that they would present to you, this is what their expectations are, and then you start thinking, these are the students that I have. I'm the one who's spending day in and day out with them. I know what they're capable of. I know their growth. And for you to tell me by the end of the semester or at the end of the year, this is what you're expecting, and if I don't meet that expectation, that I'm a failure. First of all, you're not setting up proper morale for me as a teacher who's dedicated my life to educating others. And secondly, you can't discount my students' growth because it's not at the level that you expect it to be. You have to be realistic. You cannot expect for me to be delivered a student in the 9th grade who, when tested, is at a 4th grade level, 4th grade reading level, 4th grade writing level, or sometimes even lower than that, and expect at the end of that semester, at the end of that class, that they're going to be at a 9th grade level. That's unrealistic. Number 2, working too many roles at the same time. So not only are you a teacher, you become a parent, you become a psychologist, you become a counselor, you wear so many different hats. It's ridiculous. I mean, I was fine with it, but it definitely takes a toll out on you. I don't know how teachers do it, and the teachers who are also parents, that's incredibly draining. So I would have a lot of students coming to me that they're hungry or they're dealing with these issues at home, they're afraid to talk to this person, and then you become, in a lot of cases, you become like a parent. I had a few students call me mom. We still keep it. And that's, I mean, it's a challenge, but then it's something that I love about teaching, because you build those relationships with your students, and especially not having kids of my own, they were like my kids, so that was a challenge. And number 1, this is one of the reasons that I really wanted to leave education. I tried and I found my way back in the classroom. I guess I can't stay away, but what really makes you think and honestly kind of put me in a mode of depression is being held accountable for not only myself and what I do as a teacher, like my effectiveness, but for everything. If you have a student that is physically there, they come to class every single day, but they have made that decision to not work. And honestly, you're gonna have a lot of those in your room. Well, I did. And when admin looks at that, they're seeing, oh, well, you have 20% of your kids, have Fs. What did you do about that? Or what are you gonna do about that? Or what have you done to ensure that they're not failing? As if I'm just like, oh, Johnny's getting an F, as if I'm just gonna completely ignore a student or a group of students in my room that have chosen to do nothing. That bothers me to my core. I hate to see it's just like this nonchalant, I don't care, I've given up attitude. And I know where that stemmed from. A lot of them came from previous schools that they were given a grade for nothing. And I'm always not just trying to teach them academics, not only just trying to teach them English, but about life. In the real world, if you don't work, if you don't put in work, you don't get anything out of it. There are no handouts. So that was my philosophy. If you do nothing, you get nothing. And they came from previous schools where if they showed up and they didn't do anything, they at least got a 50. And then at the end, after being at that school for how many years and you become a nuisance, pass you on. And that's how you end up having students in high school who can't read or write. Well, I came to evaluate you today, and I noticed there was a kid sleeping in the corner of your room. So even though you tried to alert that student and bring them in, but they still chose to sleep. So I'm gonna deduct some points from your overall score. I noticed the kid pulled out their phone in your room. You addressed it discreetly, you were respectful, but they were on their phone and they still went back on their phone. I'm gonna deduct some more points from your overall score. Those things really irked me. They really pissed me off because I can't control my students. First of all, they're not my kids. I didn't raise them, because if I did, they wouldn't act the way they did in the classroom. But how can I be responsible for that? And it honestly just feels like everything is your fault. You have to fix everything. You. I know I said 10 biggest challenges, but I'm gonna throw in an extra one, and that's saying goodbye. This has always been a challenge for me. I'm not necessarily a people person, I'm an introvert, but it's different when you're a teacher, especially if you have these students for an entire year. they become your children. I think of them as my own children. So when they move on from me and they move on to a different teacher, then it's, you know, it's hard to say to you that I would not be returning. It was really difficult to say goodbye. That's when I cried the most, because it really all these things, I can still say that deep down, I love teaching. If I didn't love it, I would not be doing it right now. But some things need to be changed. Some things need to be addressed. I wanted to thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And please make sure you check out my other videos on my channel. Please subscribe. I need more subscribers. I'm asking nicely. Thank you to those of you who have already subscribed. I'm grateful, and I hope that you continue to watch my videos and share my content as I grow my channel.